We have breaking news in the search for a missing Markham woman. A ground search is underway this hour. Good afternoon. Homicide investigators in York Region have taken over the investigation after Anita Mui went missing on Friday under suspicious circumstances.
And police have just provided an update. CTV's Mike Walker is covering the story once again today. Mike, what's the very latest on this?
Well, Nathan, Michelle, the area York Regional Police are conducting an active ground searches and is in the Vandorf and Kennedy area in Stouffville. This is a large rural area, and police telling us that the area they are searching, the specific property they are searching, is where they believe Mui was last expected to be, or a location Mui was expected to visit on Friday. Now, this search started early this morning. It will involve the K9 unit and Marine unit as well. Police telling us that they believe there is a pond on the property, and that is an area they will be searching extensively. They also tell us that the forensic identification unit was here yesterday. There's a house on the property. They were searching that house and processing it there. What police do tell us, though, is that there's no indication whether Mui actually made it to this property on Friday. She was last seen by her family leaving her Markham home around 9:30 Friday morning. She last spoke to a family member around 11 o'clock that morning. And on that afternoon, they found her vehicle, a white Mercedes-Benz SUV, in a plaza parking lot in the Warden and Finch area. Here's more of investigators that we just heard from on this active search for Mui.
Our investigators have been piecing together a timeline of her whereabouts and making every effort to locate her. As with any investigation, we are actively searching any and all leads as they become available. And through investigation, we have identified this area as one of the locations that Mui was due to visit on Friday. As a result, we have deployed all available resources to thoroughly conduct a search for any evidence that Mui was here or to further her whereabouts. As you can see, it's a very large area to cover. We have deployed K9, our Marine unit, our IDENT has been here, Air 2, and our search and rescue team are currently on the ground searching for any and all evidence that may lead us to any information of Ms. Mui's whereabouts.
Again, police don't know if Mui actually made it to this property on Friday. That is something they're still investigating, and also the connection between this property and why her vehicle was found in the Scarborough area. They also reiterated that at this point they don't suspect any foul play in her disappearance and are continuing to appeal to anyone with information who may have been in contact with Mui, may have seen her vehicle or know anything about her whereabouts on Friday and through the weekend to come forward. Reporting live in Stouffville, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Mike. Still to come, there's a big push to build bike paths in the West End, but is the $150 million price tag just too much? We'll delve into it a little later. But first, outside we go, where the sun has returned today. Definitely seeing some cloud cover as we look at the lake this hour, but by all accounts, it's a lovely summer day. We've got the warmth to go with it. Jessica Smith joins us now with a look at the current conditions. What are you seeing?
It is a little hazy out there. We're holding on to a little more heat as we get the day going, but not much in the way of active weather. We're holding on to high pressure, a few areas of it in and around southern Ontario, so that will keep us nice and clear for the majority of the day. But we do have some pollution up there, so just keep that in mind if you do have any respiratory challenges. Temperature-wise, it's pretty nice. We're holding on kind of in the low 20s still, feeling into the upper 20s, so that humidity a little higher as we get throughout our day today. But because we have a northwesterly wind, it will help keep it at bay to a certain extent. Again, the winds are pretty light right now, just under 10 kilometers an hour. Temperature-wise, through the islands and Pearson, it's not so bad in that mid-20 range, but we are warming up nicely as we head throughout the day. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast as we head in towards the middle of the week. But right now, it's back over to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Austin Matthews is reportedly going to be named the Maple Leafs' new captain.
TSN's Darren Dreger got the jump on the announcement, and our Sean Leathong is following up with fans today. He joins us now live. What's the reaction?
Well, as of right now, Michelle, it's a little bit mixed and a little bit surprised because, as we know, the Leafs captain currently is John Tavares, but the Leafs have called a press conference for tomorrow at 11 a.m. And the focus on Austin Matthews is really the fact that he's done everything the Leafs have expected of him in his first 8 seasons in the league. He's currently the team's best player, so many say this is the right fit. Since coming into the NHL, no one has scored more goals than Austin Matthews, and it is widely expected that tomorrow he will be named the 26th captain in Leaf history.
I think it's just great. He's an awesome player and totally worth it.
Matthews will be taking over the captaincy from John Tavares, who's been the leader of the team since 2019. Today outside Scotiabank Arena, some fans say that they got it wrong altogether.
I like Matthews. He's a terrific goal scorer. There's no question about it, but it should be given to somebody who stands up for the team and shows character in the dressing room, and I think Riley has that over Matthews.
Last season was Matthews' career best, netting 69 goals and 38 assists over 81 games. He's won the Rocket Richard Trophy, the Hart Trophy, and the Calder Trophy as the league's Rookie of the Year. Matt Cause from TSN says this is the right move at the right time.
He signed the new long-term contract. He's the best player on the team. And we've seen from Ovechkin and Connor McDavid, often the best player is the captain. So this does seem to make sense for the timing and for the individual.
If he is announced captain, Matthews would become the first American-born captain of the Leafs. Number 60! Matt Cause was also talking about the fact that the Leafs needed a bit of a shakeup after last season. Going out in the first round was also a disappointment. They've got the new coach, Craig Berube, but largely the lineup is the same. One thing that's practically for certain is that one day Austin Matthews will be behind me here in Legends Row. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. A Markham home was targeted by gunfire for the second time in less than a month, and the incident was captured on camera.
No injuries were reported, but neighbors say they're concerned about this trend of violence. CTV's Janice Golding has the details.
You can see a dark-colored car pull up. And then at least a dozen shots are fired at a Markham home, a bullet piercing the front windshield of a minivan in the driveway. By day, the home looks like this, bullets shattering the front door, tearing through aluminum siding. The garage door also riddled with bullet holes. Can you tell us how you're feeling at all? Can you say anything to us at all? No. While a resident declined to speak to us, police say the home was occupied at the time of the shooting, which took place Friday night at 11:30 p.m. And this wasn't the first time the home has been targeted in the last few weeks.
This is the second time the residence was shot at. However, it is the third incident overall that the house has been targeted. Previous incident was also an arson, but shootings have occurred twice toward the residence now.
The first time the home was shot up was on July 18th at 3:42 a.m. Again, multiple shots were fired toward the home, this time from a light-colored vehicle. Police say the shots were fired from the rear of the car. And then at 1:45 a.m. 3 days later, a surveillance camera recorded a suspect pouring a flammable liquid on a vehicle in the driveway before lighting it on fire. The canister he was using also caught fire, and you can see him dropping it at the base of a tree. The driveway and the tree are still scorched and damaged. Neighbors we spoke to say the repeated targeting of the home is very alarming.
It's awful that especially this is a nice neighborhood.
We're worried about safety.
It was a beautiful area. Very quiet and no problem.
The suspect in the arson was captured on camera. He was wearing a black Adidas hoodie with white markings, a black face mask, and red gloves. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Durham police are looking to speak with the driver of a vehicle involved in a deadly crash in Oshawa over the weekend. It happened shortly after noon on Saturday near Ritson Road and Bloor Street. Police say a black Mercedes was speeding when it struck a white Nissan, triggering a chain reaction which involved several other vehicles. A 41-year-old woman who was driving the Nissan died at the scene. 9 other people were taken to hospital with injuries, but they will survive. Police say they want to speak to the driver of a black Chrysler 300, which was struck in the collision.
Guards at a provincial jail are being accused of mistreating inmates, allegedly taking revenge for an assault on one of their colleagues last year.
Now, inmates at the Maplehurst Correctional Complex have launched legal action, and Ontario Solicitor General is investigating. CTV's Scott Lightfoot has the details.
The allegations date back to December after an inmate assaulted a guard at the Maplehurst Correctional Complex. Other inmates allege that after that person was removed, the rest of the population was unjustly targeted by guards in the hours and days that followed.
Removed one by one, zip-tied, strip-searched. They used pepper spray, stun grenades.
Inmates also allege that guards in full riot gear pointed non-lethal weapons with laser sights at them. Their cells were emptied and trashed, and they were returned to those cells wearing nothing but boxer shorts while cold winter air was blown in as staff wore winter coats and hats.
They were treated worse than caged animals for something that none of them had any involvement in, and many have described at least what appears to be permanent trauma from it.
Lawyer Alison Craig represents 3 inmates in the facility and is seeking a remedy through the courts to deal with what she believes are charter rights violations.
There's sort of 2 options. One is that the charges are stayed, which essentially means the prosecution is ended as a result of state misconduct. The other option would be significantly reduced sentences.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Ontario's Solicitor General told CTV News Ontario expects all public safety personnel to act with the highest level of professionalism, and the vast majority do. We can confirm the ministry has launched a comprehensive internal investigation. As these matters are before the court in relation to this event, we are unable to comment further. Alison Craig says Maplehurst has been plagued with problems from overcrowding to excessive lockdowns for years, and she hopes bringing this incident to light could bring change to the institution.
I cannot imagine that anybody truly thought what they were doing was appropriate in any way, shape, or form, other than just to sort of send a message. And obviously they appeared to have been of the belief that there would be no repercussions.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
MPs held an emergency meeting today to discuss allegations against a Toronto father and son.
They're accused of an alleged plan to carry out a terror attack in Toronto. CTV's Christina Tenali is following the Public Safety and National Security Committee hearing and joins us now live with the very latest. Christina.
Yeah, Nathan, I want to start off by saying this was not just, a terror attack, and that already is quite serious. This was a mass casualty terror attack in Toronto. That's the allegation, and that it was imminent. It was going to happen quickly before the RCMP acted and foiled this plot. So today, MPs in Ottawa met. Essentially what they decided during this meeting, and as a result of this meeting, is they are compelling a number of people to come speak, to come testify in what will be 6 hearings to take place over the next little while, beginning this month. They want the RCMP commissioner, the head of Canada Border Services Agency, along with ministers, the public safety minister, the immigration minister, deputy ministers as well, to figure out how the 2 accused in this case, 62-year-old Ahmed El-Didi and his son, 26-year-old Mustafa, how they were able to enter this country, gain access to this country, immigrate here. And the elder of the 2, Ahmed, is a Canadian citizen, and he is alleged to have previously been involved in ISIS terror activities overseas. This is something the Conservatives have pounced on, and you could argue rightly so, saying Canadians deserve answers as to how these 2 were able to get into this country. Essentially, the allegation that they're creating this mass casualty terror event, and if it wasn't for the RCMP, I mean, this could have resulted in a significant number of casualties here in Toronto. In saying that, actually coming up in about, I'm going to suggest an hour's time, there's a court appearance in Newmarket for these 2. They both say they're not guilty. The elder of the 2, Ahmed El-Didi, saying that he's innocent, that his son is innocent. They actually are prevented from speaking to each other. Their lawyers can talk to each other. So they have remained in custody, as you can imagine, because of the severity of the allegations against them. They face 9 charges here in Canada, and then there is that one concerning charge, the allegation of some activities from 2015 that relate to allegations of terror activities overseas. So what we will hear from this next is MPs in the next few weeks. They'll be grilling officials who they believe can provide some clarity on this matter. Justin Trudeau was here in Ontario yesterday saying, look, we are reviewing the immigration and screening process to figure out how these 2 gained access to our country. We will have answers for Canadians at some point. We don't want to comment too much because there's a criminal investigation investigation underway, but the Conservatives are saying how many more potential alleged terror suspects are walking around our country or may have had access to our country with the checks and balances failing. It's sort of a question of who's navigating the ship here. Nathan, Michelle.
Yeah, a lot happening there. CTV's Christina Tenalia, thank you.
Okay.
A third person has now died as a result of the outbreak of Listeria infections linked to recalled plant-based beverages. The Public Health Agency of Canada says 15 other people have been hospitalized due to this outbreak. The recall affects several milk alternatives sold by Silk and Great Value. Most of the reported illnesses are among women aged 50 and over, with 13 of the confirmed cases here in Ontario. If you find the affected product in your home, you're advised to throw it out. Health officials say symptoms may appear between 3 and 70 days after exposure.
There are concerns about the huge cost of extending the West Rail Path for another 2 kilometers.
It's estimated the extension will cost $150 million. Councillor Brad Bradford is among those raising concerns, and he joins us now live. Councillor, definitely some sticker shock. From your perspective, what's going on here?
Well, I think we need to have a conversation about value for money, and all of us can agree that, extending an existing walkway and cycling corridor makes a lot of sense, but not at any cost. When this was originally tabled in 2016, the cost estimate was $23 million. It has now gone up by a magnitude of 6. And I just think when we have a lot of priorities here in the city of Toronto, spending $150 million for a 2-kilometer pedestrian corridor extension, that's about $75,000 a meter. And, in the environment where people are struggling to pay the bills and the mayor's brought in record-breaking tax increases, we're not seeing value for money when the city pursues initiatives like this.
Certainly at face value, $150 million for 2 kilometers seems exorbitant, especially when you tell us the initial cost. From your understanding, what factors into the ballooning cost? What's to blame here? I mean, we're seeing bridges, which I'm sure aren't cheap to make, but why is it so much more money?
Well, there are a lot of challenges right now. Construction costs have gone up, labor costs have gone up. But the reality is you can't be asleep at the switch, and you can't just provide an automatic sign-off on these type of things. We have our budget chief at City Hall in our last council meeting telling everybody, don't bring any new proposals forward. The city can't afford it. We're just coming out of a nearly double-digit record-breaking tax increase in the city of Toronto. And when people hear the idea of $150 million to extend a cycling path 2 kilometers, I think their head's going to explode. I mean, people expect us to respect taxpayers and show good value for money. And with all the pressing priorities, I mean, you could build 2 community centers for $150 million. And we're talking about a 2-kilometer cycling path extension. It's a complicated project. You're in the Metrolinx corridor where all that transit expansion work is going on. We should be actually finding opportunities to save money because of that work that's underway and the planning that's been done in advance. I think the mayor needs to go back to the table, ask those tough questions. Why is this costing money? And spend some of her time and her energy trying to find savings on a project. We can't just write blank checks at $75,000 a meter, $150 million of taxpayer money, not in this economy, not in this climate.
It's a highly anticipated project connecting the West End. There's certainly people who want to see this happen, and work's already underway. Do you think there's a way to get the cost down, or is your take that you have to put a pause on this?
I think if you can't get the cost down, you need to put a pause on it. Again, given the challenges we're facing as a city right now with congestion, with housing, with encampments, is a 2-kilometer cycling network expansion that is orders of magnitude higher than what was originally estimated. Is that the top priority? Is there a better use for $150 million of capital investment in the city of Toronto right now? I think if you ask most taxpayers, if you ask most residents, they would probably say yes. And it's not to say that this isn't an important project or it's not a worthwhile cause. It's just leadership requires prioritization. Leadership requires difficult decisions. And this is one of those decisions that I think the mayor needs to take another look at and say, maybe now is not the time. Maybe the cost is too much. Maybe you're asking your consultants to go back and say, is there some value engineering that we can do here to bring that cost down? Because $150 million for a 2-kilometer cycling extension is exorbitant, and I don't think Torontonians are going to be comfortable with that number. It's not acceptable.
Councillor Brad Bradford live for us today. Appreciate your take on this. I'm sure there'll be lots more discussion. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon.
In the Middle East, Iran is rejecting international pleas to show restraint. Senior Iranian officials say only a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip will prevent a response. It says there will be a direct attack if the Gaza talks fail or if Israel is perceived to be dragging out negotiations. It's unclear how long Tehran would allow for talks to progress before acting. Iran has vowed to retaliate against Israel for the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh on its soil.
In Greece, firefighters are trying to contain what is left of a wildfire in the northern suburbs of Athens. The blaze was to blame for the death of one person, and it caused multiple evacuations. Dozens of homes and businesses have burned, but authorities do not yet have an exact number. Winds strengthened again today, but no new major flare-ups are reported. The fire is not advancing, and crews are focused on extinguishing hundreds of slow-burning areas. Reinforcements are arriving from abroad after Greece requested assistance from its European partners.
Back here at home, Toronto Public Health is reporting a rise in Mpox cases in the city. Health officials say they've seen 93 confirmed cases as of July 31st. This time last year, the city's case count stood at 21. They're urging eligible residents to get vaccinated to contain the spread. While Mpox cases have been reported across the city, officials say the highest concentration is in the downtown core.
A Canadian junior hockey player has filed a proposed class action lawsuit against the NCAA and 10 American universities.
The suit by Ryland Masterson alleges the Collegiate Athletics Association and the schools are violating antitrust laws.
As here's Masterson weaving his way into the zone. Masterson still has the puck right in on goal. Scores!
TSN's Rick Westhead is reporting the lawsuit was filed last night in U.S. District Court. It argues the NCAA and the universities are anti-competitive because they prevent anyone who has played a game for a major junior team from playing NCAA hockey. The 19-year-old suits up for the Fort Erie Meteors of the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League. In 2022, he played 2 exhibition games for the OHL's Windsor Spitfires. That cost him his eligibility in the NCAA.
Olympic athletes are expressing their appreciation for Canada's support after a record-setting Olympics for Canadian competitors.
They returned to Toronto last evening, still basking in the glow of one of the world's biggest sporting events. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the story.
Touching down on the tarmac, a triumphant return to home soil. Canadian flag bearer Summer McIntosh still savoring her success. The first Canadian athlete to win 3 gold medals at one Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, definitely a childhood dream accomplished, but I'm always wanting more and wanting to keep improving because I'm always striving to be perfect, and that's something that you can kind of never fully reach. So that's definitely a goal of mine and what kind of keeps me going for the next 4 years heading into LA.
The party that began in Paris continuing in Canada.
It's like finally being able to celebrate all those things that we've worked really hard for, and definitely makes it a lot more fun when you can come out and celebrate with a medal.
The athletes all saying that even an ocean away, it was clear the fans at home were behind them.
You know, the whole country supports and cheers everybody on, and I mean, people, you know, they may not know you personally, but they'll still come out and watch you run. It just kind of shows the support from the country, everybody's behind us.
You know, we definitely had some people rooting for us in Paris, and we know we felt the love from all the way there, but to come back home and see everybody, all the smiles, and just be back home after a long trip just feels really amazing, really refreshing.
A sentiment shared by Canada's youngest Olympian, 14-year-old skateboarder Fata Fazio-Ebert from Toronto.
Oh, it feels amazing to represent Canada, to know that a bunch of people had and have my back during this.
Proud of their work in Paris.
It was definitely fun, but definitely looking forward to chilling out now.
But happy to be home. Natalie Johnson, CTV News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, the Olympic flag has arrived at the home of the 2028 Games. It arrived in Los Angeles yesterday on a flight carrying American athletes and officials. The flag has its own special briefcase that features stickers of past games. Now, Olympic organizers in LA will begin ramping up for preparations for the big event 4 years from now. It will be the third time the Summer Olympics have been held in LA in the modern era. They were also there in 1932 and 1984.
There is new evidence that suggests the presence of water on Mars, and a lot of it. A study suggests the red planet may be drenched beneath its surface, with enough water hiding in the cracks of underground rocks to form a global ocean. The findings are based on computer modeling as well as seismic measurements from NASA's InSight lander. The water is believed to be 11 to 19 kilometers beneath the Martian crust. It most likely would have seeped from the surface billions of years ago when Mars had rivers and lakes. Jess?
Well, if you want to go to a river or a lake here in Ontario, the water's probably pretty nice today and the temperature pretty agreeable if you want to spend some time outside. A very seasonal afternoon ahead of us, sitting at about 26, feeling like 30, so just that hint of a humidex where it's comfortable. A northwesterly wind becoming northeasterly bites out some of that intense humidity, but we will see the heat rise as we head throughout the week. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including the sunshine and the long-range forecast with some more active weather.
All right, to the forecast. Over the weekend it was a little bit cooler. Yesterday morning cooler. Last night was cool. But today it feels like the warm-up has returned.
I know we're into a nice little stretch of sunny, warm weather. It's going to warm up over the next 2 days, which is great. I feel like it's a bit hazy, kind of ruining some of that sunshine we're being offered today, but whatever.
But don't let that fool you. The UV rays are still super strong. So whether there's a bit of a haze out there, some cloud cover, you can still get a burn on a cloudy day. So just make sure you're protecting yourself the exact same way. But we are settling back into a much more standard summer forecast. People were asking me, is summer over? Absolutely not. We just had a bit of a cool down. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. A bit of a haze out there, but we are holding on to a few areas of high pressure that will keep it relatively comfortable throughout the day. We're not looking at much, if any, active weather for the downtown core. Maybe a few showers a little bit further kind of east of the GTA, but overall we're looking at a pretty comfortable, very seasonal day. Temperature-wise, it's a little warmer, getting things going. We're at 25. It feels like 28. Almost everybody experiencing that warmth. Northern Ontario still holding on to that heat. Peawanuck, for example, is at 28, feeling like 31. So they're still seeing some of those heat issues that are kind of impacting the prairies as well. Different story for us here. We're not in that heat warning criteria, but because Ontario is so big, to reach that criteria, it's different in almost every corner of the province. For us heading into the afternoon, very seasonal at 26. It'll feel like 30, and right around the Golden Horseshoe, we're kind of in that mid-20 range, right on par for where we should be. That northwesterly wind kind of keeping some of that intense humidity at bay. Heading in towards this evening, again, we'll sit around 17. So we're in that seasonal mark. A little warmer than last night, but we're not nearly as hot as it has been over the past few weeks. Throughout the majority of our day, there's not a lot going on. Again, we have a few areas of high pressure that are going to push their way in. There might be some high-level rain, scattered showers in central and northern Ontario, but for the most part, staying relatively dry. As we head throughout the afternoon, we'll see a few clouds push in. Again, that isn't right downtown. That little blip of rain, likely just a bit of a sun shower as we head into the afternoon, just kind of east of the city. But it's pretty short-lived, and then just a few light clouds as we head through our evening. Into our Wednesday, high pressure really pushes in. We have lots of sunshine, and this is where temperatures start to climb as we head in towards kind of the middle and near the end of the week. Overall, beautiful days start to finish. Great for spending time outside. For the kids at camp, maybe a little bit of extra water, maybe some extra sun protection because it's going to be pretty hot out there. Temperature-wise, we're right where we should be. We're in that sweet spot, right where we should be for this time of year when it comes to the seasonal average. And then it gets warmer and warmer as we head throughout the rest of the week. Beautiful as we head into Wednesday. We'll feel kind of into that mid-30 range. That humidity starts to climb just a little bit. As we head into Thursday, warmer still. Those overnight lows get up into the 20s, so that's where it gets a little challenging for sleeping, especially if you don't have AC. As we head into Friday, some cloud cover moves in, and it's the beginning of a system. It won't be a wash of a weekend, but we are watching for scattered showers as we head through our Saturday and our Sunday. It tapers off into Monday morning, so just pack the umbrella as you head out this weekend. But for now, I'm focused on the positive, and that's the sunshine today, tomorrow, and in towards the end of the week. I'll send it back over to Michelle and Nathan.
Thanks, Jess. Well, the long wait is nearing an end for fire evacuees in Jasper, Alberta. They will finally be allowed to return home starting on Friday.
5,000 residents and 20,000 tourists were forced out by wildfires last month. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the details.
Town says the minimum requirements have been met for a safe return to Jasper. But what that looks like depends on where people live and what's left of their home.
3 weeks after they were forced to pack up their lives and go on the run from wildfire flames, a return home is in sight for the people of Jasper.
There will be an adjustment. Our residents will re-enter to what they will have to make as a new normal.
Friday at 7 a.m. when the highway into the national park opens for the day, all Jasperites are welcome back, but their community has been crippled. The fire destroyed 1/3 of the town's buildings. Damage to homes will vary, and so will the availability of services people usually take for granted.
It might mean that you need to bring in water from an external source to flush your toilet, for example, or to use to wash dishes or do anything like that. So if residents choose that that's a standard of living that works for them because they'd rather be in their house and they'd rather be back in Jasper, we will allow them to do that. But that won't be the case for everyone.
Wastewater service, electricity, natural gas, and cell coverage is back up and running in most areas of Jasper. There will be a basic ER setup at the hospital as well as ambulance service. There won't be rooms available at hotels.
People should be prepared to return to their existing accommodation. If there's a home standing, there could be significant damage on the inside.
Jasper will also be open to tourists on Friday, but the message, there won't be many amenities available, so maybe give the town some time. As for the wildfire burning out of control in the national park, residents who return will be on evacuation alert and need to be ready to leave again.
If you ever thought of buying a condo, we have a story that you'll want to see. One woman is faced with a huge special assessment in a window replacement program begun by the Condo Corporation. Stay with us.
A recent survey suggests consumers are returning to brick and mortar stores to purchase items for back to school.
And parents are not expecting to spend a lot more than previous years. The Retail Council of Canada found nearly 3 out of 4 consumers prefer to purchase school items in store rather than online, reversing the trend observed during the pandemic, when only 40% of purchases were made in store. Back-to-school spending is expected to remain stable in 2024, with 85% of respondents believing they'll spend as much as last year or more on school supplies.
Expenses for condo owners are usually covered by monthly maintenance fees.
But major repairs can often lead to additional costs. CTV's Pat Foran has more on how one owner is being impacted by window replacement in her building.
The 2 condominium buildings that make up Guildwood Terrace in Scarborough are currently undergoing a major renovation. All the windows on the 33-year-old buildings are being replaced. Bonnie Jones bought a unit here 5 years ago. Her maintenance fees are about $1,000 a month, which is why she was shocked to be told she would have to pay a special assessment of $40,000 to replace her windows.
Did you know anything about special assessments that this could happen?
No, I had no idea.
Some windows in the building have been leaking for years. The board said it had various meetings with owners and paid for an engineering study which recommended replacing all the windows at once. The board told CTV News it followed the recommended process, warned owners 3 years ago repairs were needed, and gave them payment options. But Jones says she fell ill, had to take sick leave, and was behind on her payments. With interest and legal fees, she now owes $74,000.
I have until next week to pay them this $40,000 plus all of the fees and interest, or they're going to sell my property.
The unfortunate thing is we should have seen the writing on the wall.
John Juff's a condo expert who has researched reserve funds, says many older condos will start needing repairs. Reasons for special assessments include replacing roofs, exterior glass walls, balconies, foundations, and parking garages. Condo boards are reluctant to raise monthly maintenance fees, which means special assessments may be needed, but Juff says owners should have many options before being forced to sell.
In my mind, there's no good reason to be ousting a homeowner, just for the cost of repairing a building.
Jones is worried her unit will be sold to collect the money owed, even though her windows don't leak and are not scheduled to be replaced this year. After Jones reached out to CTV News, she says she's been able to make arrangements to pay a portion of the money owed and now hopes to work with her building to pay the remaining amount in the future so she can stay in her condo. Pat Foran, CTV News.
In these final weeks of summer, the race is on for post-secondary students to secure housing for the upcoming fall semester.
But the current state of availability and affordability is making the search difficult for some. CTV's Sam Hout reports from Ottawa.
Construction is still underway on a new residence at Carleton University, but many students here have been looking at off-campus locations, and soaring rents means limited options. A rentals.ca survey shows one-bedroom apartments near Carleton at $1,600 a month.
Sites like Kijiji have been truly a pain to navigate. Sometimes landlords will just cancel showing the place, and yeah, it's not been a pleasant journey.
Navigating Ottawa's housing market almost requires a degree in of itself.
There's so many listings online, and some of them aren't great and some of them are overpriced, so finding something that's good priced and is a nice enough place, that becomes difficult.
For some, an easier solution.
That has been one of the most affordable options right now.
Staying with family, if possible, has been the obvious choice.
The rent is so high right now that with the hours that we are allotted and the minimum wage that we get, I think 95% of my entire monthly salary goes in the rent.
It's something students have been planning for weeks now.
For students starting the September semester, they wanted to start looking for housing the first week of July.
Algonquin College is the latest post-secondary institution to partner with home-sharing platform Spaces Shared. Students can connect with condo and homeowners that have a spare room to fill.
If it's a good fit, they can create an agreement. And then Spaces Shared, as well as myself, supports the student and the host throughout the duration of the agreement.
Meanwhile, some swear by the Res Life experience for the duration of their post-secondary education.
They guide you through the whole process, and it's pretty easy. It's a great experience because you get to meet so many new people. You're really living that school experience, that college experience that, many people want.
Sam Haupt, CTV News.
Still to come, the price of Starbucks shares is on the rise. We'll have the details in business.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Shares of Starbucks surged higher today after the company announced it has hired a new chief executive officer.
Paul Bagnall of B&M Bloomberg has more.
Shares of Starbucks soared by more than 20% this morning as investors applauded news of an abrupt change coming to the company's senior management. Starbucks has hired Brian Niccol to be its new chief executive officer. Niccol is currently CEO of Chipotle Mexican Grill, and he'll take the top job at Starbucks on September the 9th. The current CEO, Laxman Narasimhan, will step down immediately after less than a year in the job. Prior to this morning's big increase, Starbucks stock had fallen by 20% during 2024. Home Depot has cut its sales forecast, saying many of its customers are waiting for interest rates to fall before spending on home improvement projects. The company is now predicting same-store sales, a key measure of sales performance that excludes the effect of newly opened stores, to fall by 3 to 4% this year. Earlier, it had forecast a 1% decline. Home Depot has 182 stores in Canada, where the Bank of Canada has cut its benchmark interest rate twice. In the U.S., the Federal Reserve Board is widely expected to cut its key lending rate in September. A Montreal-based engineering company has made a big acquisition in the United States. WSP Global agreed to buy Power Engineers Incorporated of Idaho for $2.4 billion. Power Engineers provides services to power generators and renewable energy firms, among other clients. WSP's chief executive officer said the purchase would put the company, quote, at the forefront of the energy transition. And that's the latest business news from B&M Bloomberg. I'm Paul Bagnall.
The Paralympic Games are a celebration of human strength, perseverance, and the power of sport.
And the competition for Paralympic athletes will soon begin in Paris. CTV's Garrett Berry reports on one swimmer who's ready for the 2024 Games.
It's an exciting night for swimmer Katarina Roxon. Tomorrow, she heads to France for her 5th Paralympic Games. She's competed internationally for years, qualifying for Beijing in 2008 at just 15 years old. Her resume now includes a gold medal at Rio in the 100-meter backstroke. At 31, she's a veteran voice for Canada's Paralympic swim team. Roxon says she's looking forward to helping her younger teammates settle into the games.
I think for every single person on the team, like starting new, it can be a little isolating because everyone has their cliques. They've been on the team for so long, you have your cliques and everything. So for me, I've always tried to maintain the stance of making sure whoever's coming on the team, whoever's new on the team, I try to embrace them.
She'll break a record when she takes to the pool later this month. 5 Paralympic appearances is the most for any Canadian woman swimming at the Games.
My dad is my coach, right? So my dad's like, at the end of this season, take it in, see how you feel, and if you want to go back in, we'll go back in for another year. So it just take it year by year. And so here we are 20 years later.
Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, her accomplishments have been highly celebrated, a highway in her name.
The competition's going to be what the competition's going to be. You're just going to enjoy the experience, and whatever the result is, I'll just be happy with that.
She's not ruling anything out on her future after this Paralympic competition. Roxon says for now, she's focused on the next few weeks. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Calgary is on the front lines of new cutting-edge technology.
It's one of 2 cities in the world implanting a new state-of-the-art pacemaker. CTV's Kathy Lee explains.
When the heart beats too slow, a pacemaker helps restore its natural rhythm. And now, a leading-edge device.
We have been working on developing a new, less invasive pacemaker.
The world's first dual-chamber wire-free pacemaker is as small as a AA battery, a tenth of the size of a traditional one. It's also implanted into the heart through a small incision in a vein in the leg, reducing infection. The old version, with wires, also known as leads, goes through the shoulder and underneath the skin in the chest, leaving a scar and a bulge.
The risk of a normal pacemaker is quite high in terms of infections, upwards of 2 to 5%.
For this avid 77-year-old hiker, his traditional pacemaker even caused pain, rubbing against the straps of his backpack.
I would do like a 29-kilometer hike, and it would be really hurting by the time I get back.
John Keebert is one of the first patients in Canada to have the new device implanted. It's innocuous, has given him more strength on those mountains, and recovery time post-surgery faster.
It was about 2 weeks after the implant that I went on a hike.
As of 2023, more than 200,000 Canadians live with a pacemaker. Keebert is one of 15 patients at the Foothills Medical Centre to get the new version, and it's in high demand countrywide.
The challenge with it is people learning how to put them in safely and effectively, and also the cost. They're much more expensive than traditional pacemakers.
Currently, the new pacemaker is offered to patients who were part of research studies for the device or those who have a higher risk of infection. The Montreal Heart Institute and the Foothills Medical Centre are the only 2 places in Canada offering it. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
A new study suggests tablet use in young children can lead to emotional issues.
The paper has been published in the journal JAMA Pediatrics. Now, it shows child tablet use at 3.5 years old was associated with a higher number of expressions of anger and frustration a year later. In addition, children who were more prone to anger and frustration at 4.5 were more likely to have higher tablet use a year later. Early childhood tablet use, quote, may contribute to a cycle of problems in emotional regulation, the authors wrote.
Coming up, we'll introduce you to 4 new tiger cubs in Germany. We have an update now on our top story and the ground search for a 56-year-old woman who's been missing for 4 days. A police marine unit dive crew is now en route to a pond on a property near Stouffville that's being searched, and you can see workers there on the ground. Now, as part of the investigation into the disappearance of Anita Mui, the Markham real estate agent was last seen by her family Friday morning. Now, we're going to continue to update the story online, and you can tune into CP24 this afternoon for updates on this story that we are still following.
Cutting the grass is a pretty typical weekend activity, but for these drivers, there's more to it than just the perfect lawn. Dozens of drivers took part in a lawnmower marathon in the UK. They sped around a track at speeds up to 80 kilometers an hour in a race that lasted 12 hours. Apparently, this event dates back to the 1970s, and it raises money for charity.
Well, visitors to a German zoo were thrilled to see these latest additions today. 4
tiger cubs were allowed outside for the first time in North Rhine-Westphalia province.
The 3 boys and 1 girl have yet to be named. Now, the quadruplets were born May 30th, but 4 cubs does not automatically mean an abundance of children for Siberian tigers. A mother tiger can give birth to up to 7 cubs. According to estimates, there are fewer than 800 Siberian tigers left in their natural habitats. Hopefully they make it.
Oh, they're just absolutely adorable.
Baby animals, it doesn't get much better.
We love the animals. We also love sunshine, and we're getting some today and tomorrow and the next day.
Listen, seasonal weather finally returns. Although it hasn't been a big shift in temperatures, the slight cool down has been really noticeable. I've been chatting with quite a few people about how cool it has felt in the mornings. A little refreshing for some, a little shocking for others. But as we step into the next few days, we do return to more seasonal conditions. Lots of high-level cloud out there, a little smog as well, so just be conscious of that if you're spending time outdoors. But overall, we are staying dry and we are holding on to a very seasonal day. A northwesterly wind becoming northeasterly later on kind of cuts out some of that humidity, but overall it's not too bad. We're sitting at 25. It feels like 28, and for the most part, we're sitting at a very seasonal mark. Northern Ontario's got the majority of the heat. They're benefiting from a bit of a ridge that's overtaking the prairies. For us, though, here it's pretty nice as we head into the middle of the week.
Good to see. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.